Hello, and welcome back to Super English Talks, the space where language learning meets personal growth. I'm really happy that you're here today, because in this episode, we're not just going to talk about English vocabulary or grammar rules. We're going to go a little deeper into something that shapes how you think, how you speak, how you work, and how you live every single day. Let me start with a simple question. How often do you begin your day without really checking in with yourself first? Take a moment to think about that. Do you usually wake up and immediately grab your phone? Maybe you start scrolling through messages or notifications before you even sit up in bed. Maybe your feet touch the floor before your mind has even had a chance to catch up. 1 minute, you're waking up. The next, you're already reacting, replying, rushing, doing. And the truth is, this is how most of us live. It's become completely normal. But here's the problem. When you start your day like this, on autopilot, you're not really the one driving. It's like giving someone else the steering wheel before you even know where you want to go. Imagine jumping onto a busy highway without choosing your destination first. Or think about opening your laptop and seeing 17 tabs already open, all running in the background, slowing everything down before you've even started. That's what it feels like when we rush into the day without pausing, without grounding ourselves. So today, I want to share something different, a new way of starting your day, a new kind of mindset. I call it the deep self-sync. This is a simple but powerful practice, a moment, or even an hour if you can manage it, to reconnect with yourself before the noise of the world takes over. Think of it as pressing the reset button on your mind every morning. It's your chance to check your inner compass, to make sure it's pointing in the right direction before you start moving. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. I don't have time for that. Or, that sounds too abstract. And I get it. Most of us have been trained to see productivity only in terms of what we do, how many emails we answered, how many boxes we checked, how many hours we worked. But what if you change the question? Instead of asking, what did I do today? What if you asked, who was I today? That's a much deeper question. It makes you look beyond the surface and ask, was I calm? Was I focused? Was I kind? Was I present? Because real growth doesn't come only from doing more. It comes from being more self-aware, more intentional, more connected to your purpose. In this episode, we're going to explore how to create your own deep self-sync routine, step by step. We'll talk about how to clear your mind, tune into your emotions, set your intentions, and reshape your inner voice so that it supports you instead of holding you back. You can do this in an hour or even in 10 quiet minutes before you start your day. The point isn't to create a perfect morning routine that looks good on Instagram. The goal is to build a personal ritual that's real, grounding, and sustainable, one that helps you feel centered before the world pulls you in 100 different directions. And as we go through this, we'll also keep focusing on language, on how to express these thoughts in rich, natural English. Because here at Super English Talks, we don't just study English to pass a test. We use it as a tool for self-discovery, reflection, and growth. So, take a deep breath, slow down, and let's begin this journey, learning not just how to speak better English, but how to live more consciously, one word and one thought at a time. The noise we wake up to. So, take a deep breath. Let your shoulders drop. Let the noise settle, just a little. You're about to enter what might be the most important meeting of your day, the one you have with yourself. Now, let's be honest. Most of us don't wake up in peace. We wake up in noise. And not just the kind of noise you can hear, like the sound of traffic outside your window, or your neighbor's blender, or your alarm still echoing in your head. I'm talking about internal noise, the kind that starts playing the moment your eyes open. Maybe your brain starts buzzing before you even get out of bed. You remember that meeting you forgot to prepare for. You think about that message you didn't reply to last night. You feel that little wave of guilt or pressure or tension that you can't quite name, but it's already there, sitting quietly in the corner of your mind like an unwanted guest. That's the noise we wake up to. It's the chaos that sneaks in before the day has even begun. And for most of us, the first thing we reach for in the morning isn't stillness, it's our phone. Think about it. Before your feet even touch the floor, your thumb is already scrolling. Emails, notifications, group chats, news headlines, Instagram stories. Maybe a few voice notes that feel urgent, even though, deep down, they probably aren't. And just like that, your attention gets pulled outward. You're no longer waking up on your terms. You're waking up on everyone else's. This has become the default mode for so many people. We wake up and instantly enter what I call the reactive loop. That phrase, reactive loop, simply means you're not leading your attention is leading you. You're not choosing what to focus on. Your focus is being hijacked. And hijacked really is the right word here. Because in that moment, your mental space, your clarity, your calm, your ability to think, gets stolen before you've even had the chance to claim it. Let's make this real with an example. Imagine someone, maybe it's you, waking up at 7 a.m. The alarm goes off. Still half asleep, they grab their phone. There are 3 Slack messages from a coworker in another time zone. One says, "Hey, we need your input on this ASAP." There's also an email from their manager marked high priority and a new calendar invite for a meeting they didn't even know about. Then, a news alert pops up about another crisis somewhere in the world. Within seconds, their heart rate goes up. Their jaw tightens. Their body tenses. And all of this has happened before breakfast. They haven't even spoken a word out loud, but their nervous system is already on high alert. That's what we call nervous system activation, when your brain and body prepare for action automatically before you've had a single conscious thought. You're not choosing to feel stressed. Your body is doing it for you. That automatic response is what we mean by autopilot, when your actions, emotions, and even your thoughts start running by themselves without your awareness. It's like a plane flying with no pilot in the cockpit. You're moving, but you don't really know where you're going or why. And here's the tricky part. When your day begins in autopilot, it's very hard to take back control later. The tone of your morning often sets the tone for your entire day. If you start your day scattered, tense, and distracted, it's likely your afternoon will feel the same. And that energy often follows you into the evening, then into the next morning, and the cycle repeats. Unless, of course, you choose to interrupt it. Because it's not just about being busy. It's also about what you're carrying with you from yesterday. Maybe you had a difficult conversation the night before. Maybe you went to bed with a heavy feeling, disappointment, frustration, loneliness. Those emotions don't magically disappear when you wake up. They travel with you, like invisible luggage you never unpacked. And unless you pause, breathe, and reconnect, that emotional weight becomes the soundtrack of your new day. So before you reach for your phone, before you open your laptop, take a moment. Sit up. Breathe. Notice the noise, both around you and within you. You don't have to silence it right away. Just see it. Because awareness is always the first step toward peace. The emotional residue and the power of pause. That emotional energy from yesterday doesn't just disappear overnight. It lingers. Psychologists actually have a name for this. They call it emotional residue, the leftover feelings from past experiences that stay with you, like fog on a mirror after a hot shower. If you don't take the time to notice or clear them, those emotions quietly follow you into the next day. They shape your mood, your focus, and even the tone of your conversations, often without you realizing it. Add to that the constant stimulation we face in today's world. It's not just about phones or social media. It's the pace of modern life itself. We are surrounded by information, messages, updates, deadlines, opinions, decisions. In one single day, we now absorb more input than some people used to experience in an entire week. And because of that, our minds are constantly juggling, switching from one task to another, one thought to another. We're jumping between responsibilities, worries, notifications, and half-finished plans. It's no wonder we often feel scattered and unfocused. At this point, your mind might feel like a browser with too many tabs open. You know the feeling: one tab is playing music, but you can't figure out which one. Another tab is frozen. A few others are open from days ago, and yet you keep clicking around, hoping something will start working properly again. That's what many of our mornings look like: distracted, fragmented, and tired before the day has even begun. But here's the good news. The moment you notice what's happening, you're already moving toward change. Awareness is the first step. When you can see that you're caught in noise, mental, emotional, or digital, you can also begin to make a different choice. You don't have to live with all those open tabs forever. You can start closing them one by one. Gently. Intentionally. So the question becomes, what kind of morning are you waking up into, and who decided that? Was it your intention that shaped your morning? Or was it someone else's urgency that took control? This is where the next idea comes in, what I like to call the power of pause. After everything we've talked about, the mental clutter, the emotional residue, the endless rush to react, you might be wondering, okay, but what can I actually do about it? And you're right to ask. The world isn't going to slow down for you. The emails will keep coming. The notifications won't stop. Your schedule probably isn't going to magically clear itself and hand you 2 peaceful hours every morning. But that's exactly why the pause is so powerful. Because the pause doesn't depend on the world slowing down. It depends on you slowing down. And I'm not talking about anything dramatic. I'm not saying you need to wake up at 4 a.m. and meditate for an hour on a mountaintop. I'm talking about something much simpler, but no less meaningful. The choice to take just a few minutes, maybe 5, maybe even 2, to interrupt your automatic patterns. To press pause before you press play on your day. Here's something most people don't realize. A pause isn't passive. It's not doing nothing. It's doing something very different. It's a conscious interruption. It's your way of saying, before I enter the world, I want to enter myself. In psychology, this is sometimes called presence, the ability to be fully here, in this exact moment, not lost in the past or rushing toward the future. When you practice presence, even for just a short while, you send a message to your brain. It's okay to slow down. I'm safe right now. I don't have to be in defense mode. And when your brain gets that message, something beautiful happens. Your body softens. Your breath deepens. Your focus returns. You stop reacting and start responding. That's the real power of the pause. It doesn't remove the noise from your life, but it teaches you how to lower the volume. It reminds you that you have a choice in every moment about what you give your energy to. And from that small pause, your day begins to change. Not through force, but through awareness. Not through control, but through calm intention. From reactivity to intentionality. And that shift from reactivity to intentionality can change everything. So why does this matter, especially first thing in the morning? Because that's when your mental state is most open. It's soft, flexible, impressionable. Think of your morning mind like soft clay. If you touch it gently, shape it with care, and guide it with intention, it will hold that form throughout the day. But if you let it get pushed, squeezed, or pulled in random directions by stress and distraction, it will harden in chaos. And that shape, the mental form you create in those first few minutes, is what you carry into everything: your work, your relationships, your choices, your sense of self. That's why the pause matters so much. It's not a luxury. It's a necessity. It creates a pocket of clarity in a day that might otherwise feel like a blur. It gives you the chance to really arrive, before the world starts asking for your attention. So, what does that actually look like in practice? It can be incredibly simple. Maybe it's just sitting on the edge of your bed, feet flat on the floor, eyes still soft from sleep, and taking 3 slow, deep breaths. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. No phone. No music. No checklist. Just a few quiet moments to notice your body, to feel your breath, to remember that you're here right now. Or maybe you prefer something a little more structured. You could visualize your day as a blank page, clean, untouched, full of possibility. Not a list of tasks or deadlines. Just open space. And then ask yourself, how do I want to fill this page? Not just with actions, but with energy, with presence, with values. What tone do I want to set today? What kind of person do I want to be in the moments ahead? The pause and practice. For some, the pause might include a short breathing exercise like box breathing. It's simple. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 4. Exhale for 4. Hold again for 4. It sounds mechanical, but what it really does is send a signal to your nervous system, a message that says, you're safe. You're in control. You can handle this. These are small actions, tiny even. But don't mistake their size for weakness. In fact, there's something incredibly powerful about doing something small on purpose in a world that's always pushing you to go faster, harder, louder. When you choose stillness, even for 1 minute, you reclaim your space, your time, your energy. The space of silence. And let's talk about silence, not as emptiness, but as openness. Silence is often misunderstood. We think of it as the absence of something. No noise, no conversation, no movement. But in truth, silence is not the absence of sound. It's the presence of space. Space to think. Space to breathe. Space to feel. Space to notice what's actually happening inside you. It's like the white space in a painting, the part that allows the colors to breathe, the shapes to stand out, the story to make sense. Without that space, everything feels crowded, overwhelming, compressed. So when you pause in the morning, even for a few minutes, you're not stepping away from life. You're stepping into it, more fully, more consciously, more calmly. You're choosing to begin from the center instead of from the edge. And when you do that consistently, not perfectly, but consistently, something begins to shift. Your baseline changes. You start to notice your patterns more clearly. You catch yourself before you spiral into stress. You make decisions from clarity, not from pressure. So right now, even as you're listening, just take a second to imagine that pause. Imagine waking up without rushing. Imagine greeting the day with calm readiness instead of panic. Imagine beginning your morning from a place of quiet power, the kind that doesn't shout, but simply is. That's the gift of presence. And that's the foundation for everything else that follows. Meeting your life. What would it feel like to open your eyes, take a breath, and meet your life, not as something to survive, but as something to shape? That's where the self-sync ritual begins. It's not about doing more. It's about doing less, more consciously, more deliberately. Because when you begin with presence, everything else starts to align. Your focus sharpens. Your goals feel clearer. Your emotions settle into balance. You stop running from yourself and you start moving with yourself. So tomorrow morning, when the alarm goes off and your fingers instinctively reach for your phone, pause. Just for a breath. Just for a thought. That pause might seem small, almost insignificant, but trust me, it's the beginning of something much bigger. It's the moment where awareness begins. It's the doorway to your day. Syncing your mind, mental clarity, and focus. Now that we've created a little space, by pausing, by breathing, by stepping back from the noise, we can begin the real work of syncing. And we start where everything begins, with your mind. Not just what's on your to-do list, but what's on your mind. So, let me ask you right now as you're listening. What's on your mind? No need to overanalyze, just notice the first thing that comes up. Maybe it's a decision you've been avoiding. Maybe an awkward conversation that's still echoing from yesterday. Maybe a deadline you know is coming but haven't faced yet. Or maybe it's something softer, a vague feeling of tension, stress, or uncertainty that you can't quite name. Whatever it is, this part of the self-sync ritual is about noticing it clearly and honestly before it takes control in the background. Because here's the truth. Your mind, just like your phone or your computer, can get cluttered. Thoughts build up. Some are useful. Many are not. And if you don't clear that mental space intentionally, it begins to affect everything: your focus, your energy, your clarity, your sense of direction. Understanding mental clutter. Let's take a closer look at this clutter. For most people, the mind tends to get caught in a few repetitive patterns, what psychologists call cognitive loops. One of the most common is rumination. That's when your brain replays the same thought or situation again and again, like a song stuck on repeat. Maybe you keep reliving a mistake you made. Or you replay a conversation, wondering if you said the wrong thing. Or you try to predict how someone might react to you next time. It feels like problem solving, but it's not. Rumination rarely leads to real solutions. It just drains your energy and keeps you stuck in mental quicksand. Another common pattern is catastrophizing, imagining the worst-case scenario before anything has even happened. For example, you might think, if I don't do well in this presentation, I'll lose credibility. Or, if I take a day off, everything will fall apart. Those thoughts sound extreme, even dramatic, but in the moment, they feel completely real. That's because your brain treats them like facts, even though they're only stories, projections, possibilities that may never happen. And then there's perfectionism. That quiet, relentless pressure to do everything right. To never make mistakes. To always appear calm, capable, and in control. Perfectionism is sneaky. It often wears the disguise of ambition or responsibility. It tells you you're being productive, but really, it's just fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. And here's what happens when these patterns run unchecked. Your mental space gets filled with noise. You're thinking constantly, but rarely clearly. You're moving all the time, but not really forward. So this part of the self-sync ritual is about recognition and release. Recognizing the thought loops for what they are, habits of the mind, and gently creating space between you and them. Here's something to try. When you notice a thought that keeps circling, maybe a worry, a replay, a what if, pause and say to yourself, that's a thought. That simple phrase creates distance. It reminds you that you are not your thoughts. You're the one watching them. And when you can watch them, you can choose how to respond. That's the first step to syncing your mind, not by forcing it to be quiet, but by learning to listen differently. You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf them. You can't always control what comes into your mind, but you can control what stays. And that awareness, that quiet, conscious noticing, is what brings you back to center. When fear wears the mask of perfection. But underneath it all, perfectionism is rarely about excellence. It's about fear. Fear of not being good enough. Fear of being judged. Fear of failure. And when that perfectionistic voice dominates your thinking, it becomes nearly impossible to relax. Your mind starts scanning constantly for what's missing, what's wrong, what could fall apart. It's exhausting. So how do you know if you're caught in one of these loops? The answer is simple, but it requires courage. You slow down and listen. You start observing your thoughts the way you might watch clouds drift across the sky. You don't have to chase them. You don't have to argue with them. You just see them. You can even name them quietly, gently, and ask, is this helpful? Is this true? That's how you begin to separate you from your thoughts. Mental check-ins. One of the best ways to do this, especially in the morning, is through a simple mental check-in. Sit down with a notebook or even a single piece of paper and ask yourself, what's taking up space in my mind today? Then, just let it spill out. Write without judgment, without editing, without trying to sound wise or organized. This isn't for anyone else to read. It's for you. Some people call it brain dumping, literally dumping out all the open mental tabs you've been carrying around. Others call it morning pages, writing freely for a few minutes each day to clear the fog. Whatever you call it, the purpose is the same. To make space. To breathe. To reconnect with your own mental clarity. A simple challenge. Here's a challenge for you, one that might sound almost too simple, but it's surprisingly powerful. Can you name the 3 thoughts most occupying your mind today? Just 3. Pause if you need to. Write them down or say them out loud. Not the thoughts you wish you were having like, I'm calm or I'm ready. But the real ones, the quiet, persistent ones that have been hovering in the background. Because that's where self-awareness begins. When you name your thoughts, you stop being swept away by them. You shift from being driven by your thoughts to driving your thoughts. That's mental clarity. That's freedom. Clarity comes from questions. Clarity doesn't always come from having the perfect answer. It often comes from asking the right question. When you take time to sit with your mind instead of trying to escape it, you create space for insight. You begin to see patterns. The stories you repeat. The fears that keep resurfacing. The distractions that quietly drain your focus. That awareness doesn't make those thoughts disappear overnight, but it does make them smaller. They lose their grip. And that's the beginning of mental freedom. So the next time you feel scattered, overwhelmed, or mentally noisy, remember, your mind doesn't need to be perfectly clear to be aligned. It just needs to be seen, acknowledged, heard. Syncing with your goals, conscious intention. Now that you've taken time to check in with your thoughts, to notice what's been circulating in your mental space, you're ready for the next step in the self-sync ritual, turning your focus toward intention. Because once your mind is clear, the question becomes not just what you're doing, but why you're doing it. This is where we begin aligning with purpose. Not the endless list of things you have to do, but the deeper reasons that make them matter. The why beneath the what. Syncing with your goals, conscious intention. And when I say intention, I don't just mean setting goals. I mean reconnecting with the purpose behind what you're doing. The why that gives direction to your energy. It's so easy to move through the day checking boxes, replying to messages, completing tasks, all without ever asking, is this actually moving me in the direction I want to go? Modern life rewards motion, not meaning. We're surrounded by urgency, notifications that buzz for attention, deadlines that feel like emergencies, responsibilities that stack one on top of another. It's easy to confuse being busy with being intentional, but they're not the same. Urgent versus important. This brings us to a powerful distinction. The difference between what's urgent and what's important. Urgent things shout. They're loud, immediate, and usually come from someone else's priorities. They push their way to the front of your mind. Important things whisper. They're quieter, long-term, meaningful, deeply connected to your values. But because they don't demand attention right now, they're often the first to be postponed. And if you're not careful, urgency can hijack your entire day. The big rocks metaphor. Stephen Covey illustrated this perfectly with what he called the big rocks metaphor. Imagine you have a glass jar. Next to it are a few big rocks, a pile of pebbles, and some sand. The big rocks are the things that truly matter. Your purpose, your relationships, your growth, your peace of mind. The pebbles are the mid-level things. Meetings, errands, obligations. And the sand is everything else. The distractions, interruptions, the endless stream of busy. If you pour the sand in first, there's no room left for the big rocks. But if you start with the rocks, if you make space for what's truly important, The pebbles and sand will naturally fit around them. The metaphor is simple, but the message is profound. If you don't prioritize the important, the urgent will always take over, bringing it into your morning. So how does this translate into your morning, into this self-sync practice? It begins with one question. What would make today feel deeply worthwhile? Not what do I need to get done, but what would make me feel like this day truly mattered? That answer might change from day to day. Maybe it's professional, finishing something that aligns with your long-term vision. Maybe it's personal, having a genuine conversation with someone you love. Or maybe it's internal, staying grounded and calm, no matter what the day throws at you. Whatever it is, it doesn't need to be grand or impressive. This isn't about productivity for the sake of accomplishment. It's about alignment, about living on purpose, not by default. Your compass. So here's a simple image to hold on to. Imagine your day as a ship. Your goal is the compass. Without that compass, the ship still moves. But it drifts. It's pulled by the strongest current. Your inbox, other people's expectations. Your own internal pressure to keep doing. But with a compass. With one clear intention. Even when the waters get rough, you stay on course. You remember where you're going. And, more importantly, why you're going there. Small intentions, big shifts. And remember, your intention doesn't need to be extraordinary. It could be as simple as, be fully present during dinner with my family. Take a walk without checking my phone. Approach today's challenges with calm instead of anxiety. Small, clear intentions like these reshape your day from the inside out. Because when you lead with intention, your actions begin to align with your values. And that alignment, quiet, steady, intentional, is where real fulfillment begins. Emotional alignment, tuning in before tuning out. By now, you've slowed down. You've created a little space in your mind. You've found a direction, one that feels intentional, not automatic. But before you dive into your day, before the messages start coming in, before your focus begins to scatter, there's one more layer to sync with. Your emotional state. And this part is often the one we skip. We tell ourselves that if our mind is clear and our goals are set, we're ready. But the truth is, your emotions influence everything. The way you think, the words you choose, the decisions you make, the energy you bring into a room. Even when you don't say them out loud, your emotions are always there, quietly shaping your experience. Like a soft background music you don't notice until you finally pause to listen. The invisible filter. Think about it. Two people can go through the same day, the same meetings, the same traffic, the same tasks, and have completely different experiences. The difference isn't what happened to them. It's how they felt while it was happening. Your emotional state is like a filter on a camera. It colors everything you see. When you're anxious, even small problems look bigger. When you're calm, even big challenges seem manageable. That's why learning to recognize your emotional state, to really name it, is such a powerful skill. Emotional literacy, the language of feeling. This is what psychologists call emotional literacy. The ability to identify, name, and understand what you're feeling. And not just in vague terms like, I'm fine or I'm stressed, but with real specificity and curiosity. For example, instead of saying, I'm angry, you might realize, I feel disappointed. Instead of, I'm tired, maybe it's, I feel emotionally drained because I've been trying to please everyone. Instead of, I'm okay, it could be, I feel uncertain and that's making me cautious. When you can name a feeling clearly, it loses its foggy power. You stop being in the emotion and you start being with it. You can work with it, talk to it, even learn from it. A simple morning practice. So, here's a small but powerful practice you can try right now. Before you check your phone or start your morning routine, pause and ask yourself one question. What emotion is quietly shaping my day? Don't overthink it. Just notice the first word or phrase that comes up. It might be calm, rushed, tense, hopeful, worried, grateful. There's no right or wrong answer. Once you've named it, take a slow breath. Let that emotion be seen, without trying to fix or judge it. Because awareness itself is the beginning of regulation. You can't manage what you don't recognize. Understanding the message beneath the feeling. Every emotion carries information. It's a signal, not an obstacle. Anger might be telling you a boundary was crossed. Anxiety might be pointing to uncertainty or a need for preparation. Sadness might be asking you to slow down and feel. Excitement might be inviting you to take a risk. When you listen to your emotions instead of suppressing them, you begin to understand what they're trying to teach you. And that understanding gives you choice, the power to respond rather than react. Emotional syncing in practice. So tomorrow morning, when you wake up, try this 3-step check-in. Pause before you reach for your phone. Name one emotion you feel right now. Breathe with that emotion for a few seconds without resistance. That's it. That's emotional syncing in its simplest form. You're not trying to get rid of feelings or force positivity. You're just meeting yourself where you are, with honesty and compassion. Because when your mind, your goals, and your emotions are aligned, you stop performing your life and start living it. Emotional alignment. Listening to the weather within. There's a term psychologists use for this kind of emotional awareness. It's called emotional granularity. It simply means being able to tell the difference between similar feelings. To see the details instead of labeling everything with one big word like bad or stressed. For example, are you really anxious, or is it more like restlessness, that feeling of wanting to move but not knowing where? Are you sad, or is it closer to disappointment, something you hoped for that didn't quite happen? Are you angry, or is it actually frustration mixed with fatigue? That kind of precision matters. Because when you can name what you're truly feeling, you give yourself the power to respond wisely instead of reacting impulsively. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. You stop tripping over what you couldn't see before. Your inner weather. Now, let's use a metaphor. Imagine your emotions are like the weather. Some days are bright and clear. You wake up feeling light, open, ready. Other days are cloudy, heavy, maybe even stormy. You feel foggy, uncertain, a bit weighed down. And just like the weather, you can't control your emotions completely. You can't stop a storm from rolling in. But you can recognize it, prepare for it, and choose how you move through it. If you wake up to emotional fog, that feeling of heaviness or confusion, it doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It simply means your emotional system is speaking to you. It's sending you data, information about your inner world. The problem is most of us ignore that inner forecast. We wake up feeling off, but instead of checking in, we push through emails, messages, meetings, pretending the storm isn't there. But here's the truth. Emotions that go unacknowledged don't disappear. They just keep working quietly in the background, influencing your mood, your tone, your focus, your energy, even the way you treat people. Emotional residue, the dust that lingers. Think of it like emotional dust. You can't always see it, but it changes the air you breathe. Let's say you had an argument last night. It wasn't really resolved, but you went to bed anyway. The next morning, you wake up and try to jump straight into work mode. Coffee, laptop, notifications, deadlines. But underneath, there's a subtle tension. You might feel easily irritated. You might notice your motivation is low. You might not even realize it's connected to last night. That's emotional residue, leftover feelings that haven't been processed yet. They don't vanish overnight. They simply wait quietly until you pay attention to them. Emotional resilience, feeling without falling apart. And this is where emotional resilience comes in. Resilience doesn't mean you're unaffected. It doesn't mean pretending everything's fine. It means you can feel your feelings without being consumed by them. You can hold space for them, sadness, stress, confusion, even joy. without letting them take over the whole story. You learn to say, "Yes, I feel this, and I can still move forward." That's real strength. Not ignoring emotions, but walking with them. The power of naming. So how do we practice this in everyday life? It starts with something incredibly simple, naming. Literally saying to yourself, "Right now, I'm feeling." You can say it out loud or write it down. It could be something small, like "I'm feeling scattered," or something deeper, like "I'm feeling sad and I don't know why." Either way, naming your emotion brings it into the light. It makes it less chaotic, less blurry. You become the observer, not just the experiencer. You stop being inside the storm, and you start watching it from a safe distance. Asking what the emotion needs. Once you've named what you're feeling, take it one step further. Ask yourself, what does this emotion need from me today? It's a simple but powerful question. If you're feeling anxious, maybe you need more structure or reassurance. If you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe you need to simplify, to take one thing off your plate. If you're feeling angry, maybe you need to set a boundary or speak your truth. And if you're feeling joy, yes, even joy, maybe you need to slow down, to protect it, to share it with someone. Emotions aren't problems to fix. They're messages to listen to. Signals that tell you what your inner world needs to feel balanced again. It's okay to feel mixed. And let's make this clear. It's completely okay to start your day with mixed emotions. You don't have to force yourself into fake positivity or pretend everything is perfect. You can feel grateful and tired, calm and uncertain, hopeful and afraid. That's what being human means, carrying many feelings at once. The goal isn't to erase your emotions. It's to meet them with awareness and compassion. Because when you learn to tune in before you tune out, you start your day not in resistance, but in alignment, mind, goal, and heart working together. Rewriting the inner dialogue, mindset, and beliefs. You don't need to fix how you feel. You don't need to push your emotions away or cover them up with positive thinking. You just need to know how you feel. And make gentle space for that feeling in your rhythm, your decisions, your conversations, and your choices. So right now, let's pause together. Take a deep breath and quietly ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Don't rush to explain it. Don't judge it. Just notice what comes up, even if it's small, uncertain, or hard to name. You might feel calm. You might feel tired. You might feel tense without knowing why. That's okay. Just notice it. Name it. And, if you can, allow it to be part of your experience today. That one simple act, awareness, can shift your entire inner landscape. Because when your emotions are acknowledged, even if they aren't perfectly aligned, you stop fighting against yourself. You move through your day with more ease, more softness, and more integrity. Now that we've explored your thoughts, your goals, and your emotions, it's time to look at the quiet current that runs beneath all of it. Your inner dialogue. This is the voice that speaks in your head all day long. It narrates your life, comments on what you're doing, and assigns meaning to everything that happens. Sometimes, this inner voice is kind. It guides you, reassures you, helps you reflect. But other times, it can be harsh. It criticizes, compares, doubts, or distorts. It whispers old stories about who you are and what you can't do, stories you may not even realize you're repeating. The tricky thing is, this voice feels so familiar that we often mistake it for truth. It's been with you for years, maybe since childhood. It's been shaped by family, school, culture, past pain, and fear. So when it speaks, you rarely question it. You just believe it. But here's something important to remember. Just because your mind says something doesn't mean it's true. Your thoughts are not facts. They're habits, patterns your mind has learned over time. And if you don't slow down to examine them, they quietly become the lens through which you see yourself and the world. So let's ask a gentle question. If your mind were a mentor, what kind of mentor would it be? Would it be encouraging, wise, and patient? The kind of voice that helps you grow? Or would it be critical and demanding? Always rushing you, doubting you, telling you that you're not doing enough, not ready enough, not good enough? Most of us carry an inner voice that's far harsher than we realize. Psychologists call these limiting beliefs. Quiet, invisible stories that restrict your sense of possibility. They often sound like, I'm not ready. I always mess things up. I'm not disciplined enough. Nothing ever works out for me. And the tricky part? These beliefs often become self-fulfilling. If you believe you'll never follow through, you hesitate to start. If you believe you're not creative, you'll hold back your ideas. If you tell yourself you're always behind, you'll never feel like you've arrived, even when you're already doing beautifully. So how do we change that? How do we begin to rewrite the script in our own minds? Not by pretending everything's perfect. Not by repeating empty affirmations that don't feel real. You don't need to tell yourself, I'm amazing, when you don't believe it. That only deepens the gap between what you feel and what you say. The goal isn't to lie to yourself. It's to speak to yourself truthfully, but with compassion instead of cruelty. Let's try something simple. If your mind says, I'm not ready, pause and ask, what would help me feel more ready? That question shifts your focus from judgment to curiosity. It opens a door. Or if your mind says, I always mess things up, try reframing it gently. Sometimes things don't go as planned. What can I learn from that this time? See the difference? You're not denying the challenge. You're simply meeting it with awareness and growth instead of self-blame. Rewriting your inner dialogue doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process of noticing again and again how you speak to yourself and choosing little by little to make that voice a little kinder. Because your inner dialogue sets the tone for everything else. Your mindset, your decisions, your relationships, even the way you see possibility. When that voice becomes softer, life starts to feel softer too. And that's what real alignment sounds like. Not perfection, but understanding. Rewriting your inner dialogue, growth-oriented thinking. Sometimes you hear yourself saying things like, I never stick with things. Instead of letting that statement become a truth you carry all day, try adding a small, gentle follow-up. But I'm learning how to follow through, and today I can take one small step. Notice the difference. You're not denying reality. You're not pretending everything is perfect. You're simply shifting your mind toward growth, toward action, toward possibility. Grounded affirmations. Another powerful tool is using affirmations rooted in reality. These aren't sugar-coated or exaggerated phrases like, I'm perfect or everything is amazing. Instead, they're grounded truths that support the version of you you're becoming. Here are a few examples. I can do hard things, and I've done them before. I don't have to be perfect to make progress. I am allowed to learn, to try again, and to grow slowly. I am not my worst day. I am not my loudest fear. Try reading one of these out loud right now. Does it feel a little strange or uncomfortable? That's normal. Most of us aren't used to being spoken to gently, especially by our own minds. But here's the beauty. With repetition, compassion becomes a habit too. Your inner voice can learn kindness the same way your muscles learn strength. A metaphor, your inner dialogue as an operating system. Think of your inner dialogue as the operating system of your mind. If your system is full of old code, outdated beliefs, critical loops, self-defeating scripts, you'll notice it in your daily experience. You might hit the same mental errors, the same emotional crashes, over and over again. But when you start rewriting the code, even in small ways, things shift. You update your language. You question old assumptions. You choose a narrative that supports growth instead of fear. And as your inner world begins to change, you often notice your outer world shifting too. Your energy, your focus, and even your interactions with others start to reflect that internal alignment. Pay attention to tone. One simple but often overlooked practice is noticing how you speak to yourself, not just what you say. Ask yourself, would I speak to a friend this way if they made a mistake or fell behind? Most likely, the answer is no. With a friend, you'd offer encouragement. You'd remind them of their strengths. You'd offer perspective. Why not do the same for yourself? This isn't indulgence. It's responsibility. Your mindset shapes everything: creativity, resilience, relationships, health. The tone of your inner voice sets the emotional climate for your whole day. A small daily practice. As part of your morning self-sync, take a few quiet moments to listen to your inner voice. Don't judge it. Just notice it. Ask, what is it saying? Which beliefs are running the show today? Consider, are they helping me or holding me back? Then, make one small conscious shift. It could be one phrase, one gentle reframe, one sentence of truth spoken with care. It doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be intentional. Because when you change the story you tell yourself, you begin to change the way you show up in your life. From inner sync to designing your day. Now, let's bring it all together. You've sunk your mind into clarity, reconnected with your goals and intentions, tuned into your emotions, begun rewriting your inner dialogue. You've done the inner work that most people rush through or skip entirely. And that gives you a rare advantage, a clear, centered, resilient foundation. But here's the key: syncing yourself isn't the finish line. It's the starting point. From this place of alignment, you can now design your day with purpose, making choices that reflect who you want to be and what truly matters to you. Your morning self-sync isn't just reflection, it's the launch pad for intentional living. Designing the day from sync to strategy. Now comes the moment where the real test and the real magic happens. This is when you take all the internal alignment you've cultivated, your thoughts, goals, emotions, and inner dialogue, and translate it into external action. It's when you move from just feeling ready, from just being in sync, to doing with clarity, calm, and purpose. Pause for a moment and reflect. How often do you start your day feeling scattered or overwhelmed, and then immediately try to make decisions or tackle tasks on autopilot? Without that internal sync, your mind and body are like a car with a full tank of gas, but no steering wheel. You have energy, but no clear direction. The result? Frustration, distraction, wasted energy, maybe even burnout. Now imagine the alternative. You approach your day from a self-sync state. Everything changes. Decisions feel sharper. Energy is easier to manage. Tasks flow more smoothly. It's as if the noise inside your head has quieted enough for you to hear what truly matters. Turning alignment into action. So, how do you take that feeling of alignment and turn it into a practical daily plan, one that supports you without boxing you in? Here's a simple, effective framework. 1. Identify your top 3 priorities. These aren't just any tasks. These are the things that, if you complete them, will make your day feel meaningful and productive. Limiting yourself to 3 keeps your focus intentional and prevents endless to-do lists from hijacking your attention. 2. Do an energy check. Ask yourself, how am I feeling physically and mentally right now? Your energy levels influence how you approach your priorities. If you feel alert and focused, tackle your most complex or important projects. If your energy is low or scattered, schedule simpler or more creative tasks that don't demand intense focus. 3. Set boundaries. Consider what limits you need to create today with your time, attention, or emotional energy. Boundaries protect your self-sync and prevent overcommitment. This might mean turning off notifications for certain hours, saying no to extra meetings, carving out moments of quiet during the day. Flexibility is key. While structure is important, flexibility is your ally. Life is unpredictable. Unexpected events will happen. Energy will fluctuate. your mood will shift. So treat your plan as a living document, something you can adjust with kindness rather than a rigid schedule you must follow no matter what. A new way to see your day. Instead of thinking of your day as a conveyor belt, moving mechanically from task to task, imagine your day as a blank canvas. You have the freedom to paint your experience, blend colors, add new strokes, change the picture as you go. This is what syncing is really about. It's not perfection or control. It's presence, intention, and flow. By treating your day like a canvas, you acknowledge that you are both the artist and the observer. You have the power to create a day that reflects your values, your energy, and your vision, even as things change. Your closing invitation. Before you dive into action, take a moment to draft your top 3 priorities. Write them down, speak them out loud, or visualize them clearly in your mind. These 3 priorities are your anchor for the day, the things that guide your energy, focus, and intention. Everything else can flow around them. This simple step transforms your internal harmony into practical, purposeful action. It's the bridge between alignment and strategy. And it's the foundation for a day that's not just busy, but meaningful. Take a moment to check in with yourself. Notice your energy. Notice any boundaries you want to honor today. And imagine your day as a blank canvas, ready for you to add your unique, thoughtful brush strokes. Remember, this isn't about rushing or cramming. It's about designing a day that serves you, instead of letting the day pull you in every direction. When your internal world, your thoughts, goals, emotions, and mindset aligns with your external plans, you create a synergy. A synergy that helps you stay focused, resilient, and satisfied. You're not just moving through tasks. You're orchestrating a day that feels coherent, balanced, and truly yours. Reflect on what you've done. Your 1-hour self-sync ritual is nearly complete. Take a moment to appreciate what you've done. Yes, an hour might feel small in a busy day, or maybe it seems like a big commitment depending on your schedule. Either way, here's the important part. Even partial practice matters. You don't need to do every step perfectly or check every box for this ritual to work. The power of self-sync comes simply from showing up. From giving yourself the space and permission to pause, breathe, notice, and realign. Even a few minutes of conscious awareness can ripple through your entire day. It can shift the way you move, think, and feel. Change is gradual. Change rarely happens all at once. It's subtle, layered, and gradual. Think of it like tuning an instrument. You don't adjust a guitar all at once. You tune each string carefully, bit by bit, listening as you go. Syncing yourself works the same way. It's not about perfection or instant transformation. It's about cultivating a habit of returning home to yourself, no matter how often life pulls you away. Layers of your self-sync. Throughout this episode, we've explored the different layers of your self-sync practice. Pausing amidst the noise. Clearing mental clutter. Reconnecting with meaningful goals. Tuning into your emotions. Reframing your inner dialogue. Designing your day with intention and flexibility. Each step builds on the last, creating a coherent, resilient, and compassionate internal ecosystem. The most important insight. Perhaps the most vital insight to carry forward is this: stay curious about yourself, not judgmental. Curiosity is the gateway to understanding. It lets you notice patterns, recognize limiting beliefs, and witness emotional currents without getting stuck or overwhelmed. Next time you find yourself rushing, reacting, or caught in a reactive loop, pause. Ask yourself, what's really going on here? No pressure to fix it immediately. Just noticing, observing yourself, is itself a profound act of self-care and empowerment. Remember, this ritual isn't a rigid prescription. It's a practice, an evolving one, that you can shape to fit your unique rhythm, your needs, and your life circumstances. Some mornings, you might spend a full hour in deep self-sync. Other days, just a few mindful breaths, a short pause, or a quick check-in might be enough to recalibrate your inner compass. Before we close, I want to leave you with a question, one to carry into tomorrow, the day after, and every day after that. What would it feel like to start every day feeling deeply connected to yourself before the world gets its hands on you? Imagine beginning your day with a clear, centered presence, a presence that is yours and yours alone. One that isn't dictated by notifications, urgent tasks, or the pull of external expectations. Instead, a presence anchored in your values, your emotional truth, and your intention. That kind of connection, that self-sync, isn't just a morning ritual. It's a way of being, a foundation for resilience, creativity, and authentic engagement with the world. As you move forward, carry this intention gently in your pocket. Come back to it whenever you can. And remember, meaningful change unfolds one mindful moment at a time. Thank you for sharing this hour with me here on Super English Talks, a space where language meets life, reflection meets action, and your journey toward clarity and connection is always welcome. Take care of yourself, and until next time, keep syncing with kindness, curiosity, and courage.